Hey all, so in this video we're going to go over two big things. The first being the 5 key economic assumptions, and the second being the 4 factors of production. What has ears and can't hear? A cornfield. So economic assumptions. And so we're going to take a look at the 5 key economic assumptions. And so these 5 assumptions are just statements that we're going to hold true throughout the entirety of both micro and macroeconomics. So let's get started. So the first economic assumption is just this concept of scarcity that we talked about in this last video. Remember, the definition of scarcity is a society has unlimited wants and they have limited resources to achieve those wants. Which then ties in to our second economic assumption. Well, because of scarcity, right? Due to scarcity, choices have to be made. We can't have everything that we want. And because of that, we have to make choices. And so here, what's different about this second key economic assumption, or what we're adding on from last video, is this idea of a trade-off. Right? So yes, choices have to be made because of scarcity, but every single choice that we make has a cost. In other words, it has a trade-off. Right? And so an example of this could be myself, right? I want a million boxes of hot tamales because that is the greatest candy ever made. And so here, I have a choice, right? What is my choice? To get candy, to get the hot tamales, or to not get them? And so no matter what decision I make or what choice I make, there's going to be a trade-off. If I decide to purchase the hot tamales, well, what am I giving up? Well, I'm giving up money, right, to get the hot tamales there, and that is my trade-off. Right? If I don't purchase the hot tamales, well, what's my trade-off? It's I don't have hot tamales there. And so the third key economic assumption is that everyone wants to maximize their own satisfaction. And satisfaction we can measure in a bunch of different ways, right? We can measure satisfaction one way by happiness. We can measure satisfaction in the amount of money. It doesn't really matter how you measure satisfaction. All you have to know for this third economic assumption is that everyone just wants to maximize it. And so because of that, everyone acts in their own self-interest. Everyone is going to be logical and rational and make logical and rational decisions, just like Spock from Star Trek. I don't know if you guys watch or enjoy Star Trek, but I do. Number 4, everyone makes decisions by comparing the marginal costs and the marginal benefits of every choice. In other words, right, this is everyone is going to intuitively weigh the cost versus the benefits whenever they make a decision. And so let's say you're eating a pizza. You ate the second slice, you're debating on whether to eat that third slice of pizza. Intuitively, before you even decide, or while you're deciding, you are making or weighing the marginal cost of eating the next slice versus the marginal benefit of eating that third slice here. Well, here, if the marginal cost outweighs the marginal benefit, right, you are going to not eat the pizza, not eat the third slice. Why? Well, because you said the cost is greater than the benefit that I'm going to get from eating this third slice, so I'm just not going to eat it. But the vice versa is true, right? If you decide that the marginal benefit is greater than the marginal cost, you're saying, I'm going to get a lot of benefit from eating this third slice of pizza, so I'm going to eat this third slice. Which then leads us to our last key economic assumption. Well, our last key economic assumption is that everything can be explained through simplified models and graphs. In other words, everything that we're talking about in this class, or going to talk about in this class, can be explained through models and graphs. Right? And so that leads us into our second major topic, the factors of production. And so the factors of production, you're not necessarily going to see any multiple choice or free response questions on it per se, but this is basically the basis of everything that we're going to talk about. So if we're just going to define it, right? Basically, what the factors of production is just any resource. That's all the factor of production is, right? So any resource that you could possibly think of falls under one of the following four factors of production here. Right? So one, land, right? So land is any natural resource, right? So we could look at the sun, we could look at trees, right? We could look at grass, right? So anything that Mother Nature provides falls under this land category of factors of production. Labor is just any person, right? That's all labor is, right? So pretty simple. The third factor of production is this idea of capital. And with capital, we have two different types, or we're going to distinguish two different types of capital here. Physical capital and human capital. Physical capital is any human-made resource, and the key part of the definition is this, that is used to create other goods and services. Right? So examples of physical capital could be an oven, right? Because an oven is a resource, right? It's a human-made resource that you use to create other resources. Right? And that's the key part of that definition. Right? If it's just like a scissor that you're just using that's not being used to create anything else, we're not going to consider it to be physical capital. Only if you're using it to produce other goods and services is it considered to be physical capital there. Human capital, on the other hand, is any skill or knowledge gained by a worker through education and experience, right? So here, just by listening to this video, you, right, hopefully you're happy and you're learning a lot, right? You are gaining human capital. When, if you guys work and on that first week they train you for the job, you are earning human capital. Why? Well, because you're gaining skills and knowledge, right, by through experience or through education. The last factor of production is entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship is just these leaders, these CEOs that combine the other three factors of production, so land, labor, capital, to produce a good or service, right? So think of someone like Steve Jobs, right? So someone like Steve Jobs, right, is an entrepreneur, right? And so what did he do? Well, he combined land, labor, and capital to produce, right, a very poorly drawn iPhone, right? And so entrepreneurs, why do they do what they do? Well, here, entrepreneurs, right, they take the initiative, they innovate, they act as risk bearers. Why? What is the end goal for entrepreneurs? Well, the end goal for entrepreneurs is this idea that they want to earn a profit. In other words, they just want to make money. And so the reason why they do all this is to make money at the end of the day. But to make money, and this leads us to our last major point of productivity. Well, here, what productivity is, right, it's just a measure of efficiency. And then honestly, we can ignore this last part, the number of outputs per units of input. It's a little confusing. Just basically, it's just efficiency. And so here, right, let's say Bob can produce 10 pizzas while Dan can produce 12 pizzas. Who is more efficient? Well, Dan is more efficient because he can produce 2 more pizzas. And so why does everyone want to improve their productivity? Well, here, this brings us back to our definition of scarcity, or definition of economics. Every single resource is scarce. And so if you improve productivity, that means you are more efficient with your resources. And the more efficient with your resources you are, right, the lower your costs of doing businesses are, and at the end of the day, you can make more profit. Right? So essentially, productivity is very, very important to companies. A company never wants to be inefficient or unproductive. They want to be as productive, as efficient as they possibly can be so that they can lower their costs and increase their profits. All right, so that's all I have for you guys today. I hope you guys learned a lot, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.